starting with the session in 5 minutes. Starting with the session. Good morning, madam.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Can you send me the YouTube link, please?
Yes, ma'am, I will send you.
বাবা বাবা আমি তোমাকে না একটা ইউটিউবের লিংক পাঠিয়েছি আমার যেটা হচ্ছে না অল ওভার ইন্ডিয়ার পাঠিয়েছি Hello.
Good morning and welcome to all the participants on day 11 of our 12 days capacity building program on research methodology sponsored by Western Regional Center, Indian Council of Social Science Research. Today's topic is scientific misconduct, fabrication, falsification, and plagiarism. The topic will be taken by our resource person, Professor Dr. Moushumi Datta ma'am. Ma'am is a professor and in-charge principal of Nagindas Khandwala College. She has a teaching experience of 27 years. Her technical skills lie in educational technology, remote sensing, GIS, and GPS. She has published 90 papers, 49 in ISSN and 42 in ISBN, co-edited 8 books and authored 2 reference books and 8 textbooks. Ma'am has 2 PhDs to her credit in geography and management. She has completed 1 minor research project sponsored by UGC, research projects sponsored by ICSSR and Impress, 2 minor research projects sponsored by University of Mumbai. Currently, 2 students have been awarded PhD under her guidance and 4 are ongoing. Ma'am has presented in various national and international universities. And recently, she has also been granted 3 patents in April 2022 by Government of India. Ma'am, we are happy to have you here as our resource person for session 1. Looking forward to your session, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Yeah, thank you, Vishaka, for that introduction again. There was no need of it actually. Today, I'll be taking up varieties of topic. In fact, in this session, we will be having mingling of various topics, and I will try to be very persistent and very easy to understand various topics. So let me share the screen. And once again, I thank IQSC of Nagitas Khandwala College and the coordinator especially and the members for inviting me over and over again for this capacity building program on research methodology. So I will be sharing this screen and starting. My screen is visible to you, Vishaka?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Thank you. As I said, my topic today is scientific misconduct, falsification, fabrication, and plagiarism. In fact, scientific misconduct includes these 3 things: falsification, fabrication, and plagiarism. I will be adding up concepts like impact factor and matrices. My flow of presentation will be what is scientific misconduct, and definitely this is the research methodology, capacity building program on research methodology. So whatever I will be speaking about the misconduct, scientific misconduct in research. To understand that very well, we have to understand who are the stakeholders in research, and then the ethical issues regarding the research participants, regarding the researchers, regarding the funding bodies. I will move on to what do we mean by fabrication and falsification of data. And just since I am putting in a lot of concepts into this session, we will be having a small activity which will make the things, the concepts much more clearer. And then we will go on to plagiarism, impact factor, and the matrices. Now, let us understand what do we mean by the concept of scientific misconduct. What is the scientific misconduct in research? In simple words, we can say scientific misconduct is a violation of standard codes of research. Now, we had already discussed, and there were various sessions on research where it was discussed that how you should go for research, what you should do in research, and what you should not do in research. So there are certain standard rules which are to be maintained in research. Research is something which is very, very disciplined. You cannot actually violate any rules of research. So whenever we violate rules of research, it is known as scientific misconduct. This scientific misconduct can be very well understood by 3 points, that is fabrication, falsification, and plagiarism. In fact, plagiarism is taken up in a very, very serious note by the Western countries, and now it is so done in India as well. And fabrication and falsification is still some aspects which are coming up in research, which I will be covering. Now, this scientific misconduct in research can happen from anyone. Now, when a research happens, we include many organizations, many people. Take, for example, whenever there is a research, there should be a researcher who conducts the research. Always, researcher happens to be the most important person in a research. We call him investigator as well. There can be one investigator, there can be many investigators. However, researcher is the most important aspect in research. When you are carrying out a survey, there you need respondents. So participants are another important stakeholders of research. If you do not have participants, you cannot carry on your research. You cannot prove your research. And so participants are equally important. If you are a full-fledged researcher, you are funded by different government and non-government agencies. So funding body is another stakeholder of research. So when we speak of scientific misconduct, we will be speaking about what are the rules and regulations of the participants, that is the respondents, the researchers, and the funding body. Now, let us understand what are the ethical issues, which should be keeping in mind when we carry on a primary survey, when we are dealing with the participants, we are dealing with the respondents. Now, first of all, when you go and carry on a primary survey and you have set of questions, those questions are asked to the respondents, should be very, very clear and say that why this research is being undertaken. Definitely, research is not so interesting that you will be carrying it on only for your own satisfaction, only for your own benefit. Research is something which should always be beneficial to the society. So first and foremost, when you go and ask questions to the participants or the respondents, you should be very, very clear that why this research is being taking place, and this research, whether it will be beneficial to the society or not. Only relevant information will be collected. You go with a set of 10 questions, and after asking the questions, you sit and start chatting with the respondents. That will not do. Only relevant informations are to be asked. Not only that, when you go for a primary survey, getting consent from the respondents is very, very important. Suppose you go to a slum and you're working under for socio-economic development of the slum. It can happen that many people are not ready to reply to you. Don't force them. You have got no rule to force them. Just leave them. You will get many respondents. So taking consent is very, very important. So firstly, you should tell them the reason of your research, and secondly, you should get consent from the respondents. You cannot force anyone to reply to your questionnaire. Another thing, although a proper researcher will never do such a thing, but you cannot provide any incentive to the respondent. You cannot tell him that I will be giving you gifts. You write or you say whatever I say and sign in that respondent ka paper. Providing incentive is an absolute no when you carry on research. This is very unethical in nature. Sometimes there are some researches which require some sensitive information, maybe some confidential or many questions. Suppose there may be many personal questions, so always you see to it that the respondent is ready to answer. Okay, it's because sometimes some personal questions people are not very comfortable in replying. Don't force him or her. So these are certain ethical issues concerning the participants when you carry on your primary survey. So not only that, suppose there are certain, you are doing a research in chemistry and you have to carry on with some, or you are doing research on some drugs. You have to carry on some experiments and those experiments may be hazardous. So if you require human respondents there, have to make them understand that you're dealing with what type of experiment. You can never carry on your research which causes a comfort to the respondents or creates anxiety or causes harassment, or you cannot intrude to anyone's privacy. These things are very, very important. In these 4 slides, I told you many things which are not to be done by the researcher when carrying out a primary survey. Only thing you remember is that you do not force a respondent to reply. You have to be very, very clear on that. If he or she is not comfortable with your questions, please do not force a respondent to reply to your questions. So now, and moreover, you should always tell the respondents that you will not be using their names in the research. In only the information part will be used for research purposes. If you see the diagram, the gentleman has no face. That means the gentleman has got no name. It is only a respondent and the name should not be. It is very, very important. Although in some of the higher researches, when we use case study method, in that case, names are often used. If you're using names, then in that case, you have to use a consent letter. You have to attach a consent letter from the respondents, or that otherwise you change the name. Mostly we change the name and write. And no personal information of the participants are to be, even if you collect it, you have to remain confidential about it. In any way, you cannot disrespect the respondent. You cannot harm the individuals mentally. These things are very, very important when you carry on your primary survey. Whenever you are dealing with respondents, remember, you are dealing with human beings and you have to be very, very ethical when you are dealing with human beings for your survey. Why this slide is not moving? Yeah. Now, even as a researcher, you have many issues. Till now, I told you the ethical issues regarding the respondents. Now I'm coming to the ethical issues of a researcher. You cannot be biased. You have to avoid being biased. That means that sometimes, what happens, we go to a respondent with some thought and the reply is something else. So please do not misinterpret you cannot misinterpret the results. whatever they reply, accordingly, you have to carry on with the analysis. You cannot overlook any valuable data. Not only that, a researcher should never use inappropriate methodology. That means sampling, you say 10% and carry on 2% and write the rest on your own. Or some instruments you are using, you use invalid instruments. They're not calibrated properly. This happens in science research. Or you do not draw the conclusion properly. You have a wrong conclusion drawn. So all these things you cannot do. This type of unethical things should not be done by the researcher. A researcher who is unethical is not a researcher at all. About the funding body. Now take, for example, UGC has funded me with rupees 10. And I am carrying on that. I am carrying on the research. My data, I am submitting it to UGC. When I am submitting my data to UGC, even UGC cannot misuse the data. If there is any publication or any policy framing happening from my research, in that case, they have to inform me. They have to inform the researcher. They have to take the researcher's name and then only go forward. So even the funding body, although the funding body, funding has been done by government, by UGC, but UGC cannot take up any, cannot misuse the data. So whenever you are doing a research, you have to maintain this very, very ethical practices. You have to be ethical when you are dealing with the respondents. You have to be ethical when you're a researcher. You cannot use biased data. You cannot use wrong data. You cannot misinterpret your data. And even the funding agencies also should be very, very ethical in nature. So these things are the first step to carry on with research. These things have to be kept in mind. Now, as I said, scientific misconduct can be explained with the help of three concepts: fabrication, falsification, and plagiarism. What is fabrication? Making up the data or result. What is falsification? Manipulation of the research. And what is plagiarism? Taking somebody else's idea and presenting as your own. That is plagiarism. All those three concepts are absolute no in a research. Let us understand them. What is fabrication? Fabrication means invention of data. That data was not there at all, but you invented. You have become a scientist and you have invented a data. It is a discovery in a wrong way. Take, for example, you can see in the picture that there is a group of geology students near the who are dealing with stones, okay, different types of stones near the riverbed. Okay, they have misinterpreted data. They found it was basalt, but they wrote in the report they found granite. So what is happening? You are discovering a data. You're creating a new data which is not there at all. Granite was not there at all, but they wrote granite. Okay, so this type of creating data when you are in field or during experiment is absolutely wrong. When a researcher creates a data, it is known as fabrication of data, which is absolutely no in research. What do you mean by falsification of data? Falsification of data means alteration of the result. Your result has come something, but somehow you're not very comfortable with the result which you have got. So you change the result according to your own need. This is known as falsification of data. Okay, so when you're changing the data, inventing new data, it is fabrication. When you are altering the result, it is falsification. Sometimes, even a researcher gives false data. I have 90 papers. I say I have 190 papers. That is falsification of data. It can be very, very serious offense. Sometimes we do not realize how serious it can be. Your career as a researcher can come to an absolute full stop if you do not follow such rules. One fine morning, if you're caught, you are, in this academic world, you have a very bad name. Sometimes many researchers are there who submit the paper in one journal and do not wait for the peer team report to come. They just submit to another one also. They wait and see which one comes first faster. It does not happen. It does not happen like this. One thing I would like to tell to all my friends present in the platform, research does not happen in a day. You cannot say, TK, in 2 days I will write a research paper. No, in that case, it is not a research at all. Research, when you are writing a paper also, don't see the time. Okay, enjoy the process, be very, very ethical. And if you're ethical and you don't see time, let it take 1 year, let it take 2 years. But after 2 years, when you bring out a paper, it will be absolute proper research paper. It will be a total research paper when ethics has been maintained. So never rush with never go by the number. My point is that never go with the number, go with the quality of research. Now, let us do some activity, a simple activity which generally will make this concepts of falsification and fabrication much more clearer to us. There is a group in a college. Okay, let us understand what this group do. 2 graduate students have made some measurement on a material. Fantastic. The data points are shown. If you see the graph, the data points are shown. Now, they have developed hypothesis also. Now, according to the hypothesis, all the points should lie on the curve. But if you see the graph properly, there are 2 points which are below the curve. So, what did these 2 students do? They thought that let us remove these 2 points so that our hypothesis is proved. Is this a proper way to deal with research? Absolutely no. When it is whatever results are there, you will have to do it. You cannot fabricate data. You cannot falsify the result. You should never do it. Let us see another group. There's a group of medical students who generally, medical students means what? You see the picture in my screen, they study to save lives. What can be more greater than this? But see, what did these medical students do? They conducted a research on the awareness of diabetic diet in a medical clinic participant. Fantastic. Their research was recognized as the best undergraduate research, and later they submitted the same research paper to 2 different journals. My dear friends, 2 different journals. It is something unethical. You are dealing with falsification. You cannot submit your research paper, as I've said earlier, to 2 different journals and test which journal publishes it first. You should always give it to one, see the result. If they want modification, do the modification and then send it across. If it does not get published, then try the same one. Be patient as far as research is concerned. Be ethical as far as research is concerned. Let us find out, what did group 3 do? Now, students are required to prepare a research proposal during their undergraduate program. Okay, there's a student called Neiman. Neiman developed the idea for his project and discussed it with a friend. We generally do that. Yes, my dear friends in the platform, we generally discuss with friends that I have this idea for a project. Several months later, he found that his idea had been submitted as a research proposal by his friend without his knowledge. It is totally no. You cannot take any other's ideas as your own idea. It is falsification, it is plagiarism. You cannot do it. So what is this unethical behavior? Unethical behavior means you are failing to give credit to the person whose idea it is. So you cannot do that. When it is your friend's idea, he has shared, you cannot take his idea and write. Even if you do that, you can take the consent. You can take the consent from your friend and include his name as a co-author. You can do that. You see, in the picture, there is a fight. Who is the co-author? I am the co-author. No, I am the co-author. So it is totally falsification of data. It is a plagiarism, which you cannot do in a research. Let us find out. What did group 4 do? There are 4 friends who decide to work together on a research project during a vacation. They went to a vacation, okay? And they are working on a research project. One of them went abroad during the vacation and did not contribute to research. They had plans of developing the research project, but one did not contribute at all. But friends are friends. We can understand that from our students. So what did this 3 friends do? These 3 friends included the name of the 4th friend also in the presentation. This is very common. Okay, this is one of the definitions of friendship, but you should not do this in a research. You cannot omit a name who has given an idea, neither you can include a name who has not contributed in your research. They're very, very unscientific in nature. So, unethical because you have to contribute and then only research can happen. Those who contribute, their ideas should be acknowledged. Very, very important. One more example. Let's see what did group 5 do. Group 5 is a group of undergraduate students. They collected data from a group of bank officers. And when they collected data, they took their consent. Remember, I told you about unethical issues. You always have to take consent from the respondents, and which they have done. And they took their consent and took some data from them. What did the data contain? Regarding their working hours, how long they're working in a day, salary, so very important and so very private thing. With regards to the prevalence of high blood pressure, they wanted to relate number of working hours with high blood pressure, how high blood pressure working hours are being affected. Now, subsequently, what happened? They took this data, fine, and they did a research paper. But these researchers gave this data to another group who wanted same set. For maybe some another bank, they wanted it. But these people, they gave this data to another group to do it. You cannot do this. This is a falsification of data. This has been collected for A bank. But for B bank, when you do, maybe the results would be different, but you're sharing the same data. It's absolutely no in research. So my friends, from these examples, we could easily understand that certain things, sometimes we do it unknowingly, but they are totally unscientific. They are totally considered as misconduct in a research. It is considered as unethical behavior in a research, which should be avoided. But why should there be research ethics? So we should be very ethical. Why there should be research ethics? Because we have to protect the participants. We have to protect the patients, the societies, researchers. We have to be very accurate with our scientific knowledge, because you have to understand whenever doing a research, your conclusions may be applied for a societal benefit. Your conclusion may be applied for some policy making. So if your data collection is wrong, if you are false there, your policy making also becomes wrong, which can be very, very dangerous. So research ethics is a very important part of research. we have discussed falsification. First of all, we discussed about the stakeholders, the participants, the researcher, the funding body, and then we discussed about falsification and fabrication. We discussed some of the case studies, also small examples, which has helped us to understand how unscientific misconduct takes place. The last point which comes here is about plagiarism, which we hear very often. Nowadays, plagiarism is being taken up in a very serious note. The word plagiarism actually has come from a Latin word plagiar, which means to kidnap. You don't kidnap somebody physically, but you kidnap the ideas. You kidnap the words, which you cannot do. In a research, kidnapping ideas is very it's considered to be a very unresearchful in nature. You cannot do that. So what is plagiarism in simple words? As I said, presenting the words, ideas, images of another as your own. You cannot do that. Okay, and moreover, you know what happens? Plagiarism is something which is very non-academic. How can you copy from somebody else and write as if it's your own? And it does not go in academics at all. When you're in academics, you have to be very ethical in nature. So something non-academic cannot come in academics. You cannot do this. Is called plagiarism. Have a plagiarized material in your academic study. Whenever this plagiarism happens, always remember, when you take somebody else's ideas, somebody else's thoughts, it is not that you cannot take. You can take it, but you have to acknowledge that person. You should say that, yes, this idea I've taken from A. This idea I have taken from B. You can always take somebody else's idea. It is according to idea you built up literature review. You can always take others' ideas, but acknowledge that person. If you do not acknowledge that person, that means you are cheating that person. Remember, you're not cheating that person, you're cheating yourself, which is very important. And it has its own risk. I will come to the risk. Okay, you should always give credit to the authors whose ideas has been taken. If you do not do that, it is very unethical behavior. Moreover, you as an academician, we as academicians, our reputation is very important. Once I am known by someone who has researches copied from others, my academic reputation just goes down the drain. So you cannot do that. So the simple logic of plagiarism is what? You borrow ideas from others. Definitely. The review of literature is very important, and you borrow ideas, but you give credit. You give credit to that person. If you borrow the idea and do not give credit, this is known as intellectual theft. And according to Copyright Act of 1957, it is punishable. UGC says that for a research paper or for dissertation or for your PhD, 10% plagiarism is allowed, because somewhere or the other some words are taken, and more than 10, it is not allowed. Let us quickly understand what are the common types of plagiarism. Something is called like clone plagiarism. Now here I've used two colors. First color, the black one, is the original one, and the second one which the author has made. The original one and the black one and the red one, if you see, there is hardly any difference. No difference at all. You know, even the comma, the semicolon, it is the same. It is no, just because you're submitting others' words word to word, it is known as clone plagiarism. Word to word. Deers are browsing animals, comma, feeding on fruits, comma, leaves, comma, shoots, comma, and tall grasses, semicolon. Exactly the same. Word to word. It is known as clone plagiarism. 100% plagiarism. Control C. Black one, white one. If you see, some portions are copied and some portions little bit here and there they have made. If you see the first line, Deers are browsing animals, comma, feeding on fruits, comma, leaves, comma, shoots, comma, and tall grasses, semicolon. And what did the author write? Deers are browsing on animals. Instead of comma, he has put that. Instead of feeding, they've put feed on fruits, comma, leaves, comma, shoots, comma, and tall grasses. Idea is the same. Meaning is the same. But only instead of comma, maybe that is used little bit here and there. This is known as Control C. It's not word to word, but very little changes are there. Very little changes. It is known as Control C. If not 100%, this is 97% plagiarism. Find and replace. Black one, the original one, red one, author has written. And author is becoming smarter. What did he do? He found out some words and changed the words. You see the first sentence, my friends. Deers are browsing animals. And what is written by the author? Deers are non-stationary animals. They mean the same. Browsing and non-stationary. Only they found out some words and replaced with the synonym. This is known as find, replace. So first one was clone, 100%. Second was Control C, maybe 97%. This is also 95%. So only some keywords and phrases are changed. But this is also a major type of plagiarism. So my friends, whenever you are in a research paper, your dissertation or your PhD, please do take care of these things. Paraphrase them. You take the ideas and write in your own words, and from whoever you have taken the ideas, please do write their name in the reference. So if you cite a name, you don't lose anything. On the other hand, the credibility of your paper increases. Please do give credit from whom you have taken ideas in research. Remix. It's the age of remix songs now. So in research also, there is a remix. What is done? The black color, I've got two black colors here. Two different ideas are taken from two different books or two different research papers. They have been merged and brought into one. This is also a type of plagiarism known as remix plagiarism. It is not copied word to word. Some ideas from the first paragraph, some ideas from the second paragraph, and nothing has been cited from whom the ideas has been taken. So it is known as a remix plagiarism. Recycle, again, an age of recycling, same data from the previous one. You know, I tell you one thing, this researcher maybe not knowing or makes a mistake. Suppose I have got 90 papers. Okay, now I am writing my 91st paper. Now, in that case, I may be taking some ideas from my paper only. Some my 10th paper or from my 11th paper, I'm taking some ideas. In that case, I will have to cite myself. This is also important. This concept was not there before. Now it has come. So if I'm taking some ideas from my book, from my research paper, unknowingly some researchers did not mention the own name. That also you have to do it. This is called, so whenever you are using any idea from your previous study, please cite yourself also. Otherwise, you will be in plagiarism known as recycle plagiarism. Hybrid. What is this hybrid? You have one paragraph, one idea properly cited. You write the name from where you have taken. With that, you add up something from somewhere else. Okay, then it becomes a clone plagiarism. So with it is not fully, the full thing is taken from somebody, but with that you're again adding up someone whom are you not citing. So what happens? Non-plagiarized and plagiarized in a same paragraph becomes plagiarized. It is known as hybrid, when half you cite and half you do not cite. You have to be very, very careful with these types of plagiarism. Mashup. What is this mashup? You take two original sources. Take original sources, then you just mix up their ideas. Okay, little bit from there, little bit from here, again from little bit from the first one, little bit from the second one. Totally you mix up and produce a work which you claim to be yours. This is known as mashup plagiarism. 404. What is 404? That does not exist at all. You copy it from somewhere and you just cite somebody's name who is not existing at all. You just cite it. So this type of plagiarism is 404 error. Aggregator, which includes proper citation. That is proper citation. But sometimes, they just copy it. This A has said this, B has said this, C has said this. No, you just cannot copy and paste. And when I was taking a session on review of literature also, I've told you that you have to put your own ideas as well. There is no original thoughts, there is no change of words, nothing. Okay, so you cannot do this type of writing in a research paper. It is known as aggregator. What is retweet? Retweet is that it includes proper citation, but again, almost the same thing. It is too near to the original work. Research is something where there should be some newness. In my session on review of literature, I had told you that review of literature is done to show the gap in research. If the research has already been done and you are doing it again, it is just a repetition. There is no point doing the same research again and again. Research means you're bringing out a new idea. So when you are doing something which is very close to the original idea, this is known as retweet. You cannot do it. There are different other types of plagiarism. In fact, there are many different types of plagiarism. There are many complexities in plagiarism. I had mentioned only some few. There's sometimes some words are used like potluck paper. What is a potluck paper? Just like mashup. You take ideas from A, B, C, D, E, F, 6 books. You take ideas, mash it up, make a new one, claim it of your own. This is called potluck paper. A photocopy. What is a photocopy? Just photocopy it. Don't hardly any changes you make, or you don't make the changes and you put it as your own paper. Self-stealer. As I said, if you are taking ideas from your own work also, you have to cite yourself. If you do not cite yourself, you're called a self-stealer. Maximum amount of plagiarism is the ghostwriter. What is a ghostwriter? 100% plagiarism. Everything is copied. Maybe only the name is changed, Other than that, everything is copied. It is called ghostwriter. So nowadays, the laws have become very strict regarding plagiarism. So my dear young researchers in the platform, you have to be very, very careful when you do a research, because under Section 57 of the Copyright Act of 1957, this is it is an offense. Okay, it is an offense and it has got some punishment. It can be imprisonment for 6 months to 3 years. It can be compensation of a fine from 50,000 to almost 2 lakhs. And moreover, your academic reputation goes down the drain, which is very, very important. So friends, whenever you're doing review of literature, cite properly. Whenever you're doing review of literature, paraphrase it, write in your own sentences, own words, and give your own views also. Then plagiarism will not come. You have to be, sometimes unknowingly we do many things which later on we fall into a problem. It happens. It is very common in research. So if you are knowing about these types of plagiarism, you will not do it. As I said, there are punishments. Up to 10%, there is no problem at all. 10 to 40%, you are supposed to change, the revision supposed to be done. 40 to 60%, if your paper of your research is plagiarized, in that case, for 2 years, if the university feels they can withdraw, they may not take your research for 2 years. It has happened in many Western countries. And if it is more than 60%, then sometimes you can be expelled only. You will not be able to do your research at all. These are extreme cases. But as I said, we should be very, very cautious when we do a research. Research is something which is very, very, it is just like as if you are performing a puja, you know, it should be like that. You should be very, very patient with your research. You should give time to your research. If you're a very busy person, no problem. You give time, take your own time, enjoy the process of research and take care of plagiarism. There are several tips of preventing plagiarism. Keep a track of what you do from the beginning. Very important. As I said when I was talking of review of literature, always write down from which book you have taken. So taking notes is very, very important, and give credit to others. You don't lose anything when you give credit to others. Cite the sources. Be consistent. I am slow. I don't mind to be slow in research. Research cannot be done in a hurried manner. You be slow, but you be consistent. Always plan in advance. Think today. You take a resolution today that one paper I will do in a year. Chalta hai, no problem. 1 year is fine. Do a bit every day. And I'm telling you, my friends, you will come up with an excellent quality research paper, and the satisfaction is immense. Sometimes, you know, human errors happens. Like my name is never spelled in the right way. This type happens. So these are not considered as plagiarism. But, you know, again, persistently, if you keep on doing the same mistake, then it is in academics, you cannot do that. You know, that you persistently you make a same mistake. So, but otherwise, incorrect citation, sometimes change author's name, that happens. That is taken up as a human error. At present, we have several plagiarism detection tools. You know, in our college also, we have got Turnitin, which checks your plagiarism. And so always check the research paper, the dissertation for plagiarism. So by chance, if you have done, there is some plagiarism, at least that will be verified, and you can take steps before it goes to some other journal for your publication. One thing you should remember, that in research, it is very important to be original. Very, very important to be original. You do not have, you know, great researchers, great researchers does not happen like that. Only you be original, whatever you see, you write, you be ethical to yourself, to the funding body, to the respondents, you take care of your plagiarism, definitely you will come out with an excellent research paper. You know, it is not a crime. I cannot say plagiarism, falsification, fabrication is a crime, a criminal crime, but it is definitely unethical, and something which is unethical, it is just not accepted in research. This concept has a new name now. We have, you know, we have air pollution, noise pollution, so many types of pollution. This has been named as publication pollution. And I tell you, my friends, in this research world, the research world is very, very small. In this research world, publication pollution has been taken up very, very seriously. So we should never be a part of this publication pollution. Once we know the unethical practices regarding the respondent, researchers, funding body, we know now what is falsification, what is fabrication, what is plagiarism. Let us understand, I will go very quickly here about what is impact factor and what are the different types of matrices. Now, everywhere, when you put a paper, it has been measured. Why it is measured? In a journal, why it is measured? A journal is measured to check the quality. Impact factor tells the quality. Okay, it tells that whatever articles are involved in that journal, how many people have seen that? How many people have read that? How many people has been impacted by that article? how it has gone, how that idea in that article has been disseminated. And this gives an impact as a researcher. You know, I write a paper, I do a project, and I keep it in the cupboard. No, this will not do. My research should have some implication. Either my research should be beneficial to the society. I've been mentioning it again and again. Or my research should be having some policy implication. My research should be opened up for further researchers. There should be proper dissemination of the idea, what I have brought in my research. So it is very, very necessary to measure that journal. Simple way of measuring journal is journal impact factor. What does journal impact factor means? Is the average number of citations to articles. That means a journal is containing 10 articles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 10. How many times A has been cited by others? How many times B has been cited by others? That gives you the impact factor. We generally calculate impact factor according to the calculations which is given by Thomas Reuter. See this, citation indexing. I've got 2 articles. This is just for reference, okay? Article A1 and Article 2. Article 1 has cited 5. They've taken care of 5 things. They've taken ideas from 5, either research paper or books, whatever, 5. A, B, C, D, E. Article 2 has taken from A, B, F, G, H, J. So how many total? Article 1 and Article 2 has cited how many in total? 5. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, Z. Clear? Now I will write article reference A. Reference A, who has cited? Article 1 has cited, Article 2 has also cited. Fine. Reference B, who has cited? 1 and 2 both. Reference C, who has cited? Only 1. B has not, 2 has not cited. Reference D, who has cited? 1. Reference E, 1. Reference F, Article 1 has not cited, but Article 2 has cited. Reference G, who has cited? Article 2. Reference H, Article 2. Reference J, Article 2. So this type, when I frame it, it is called citation index design. It is known as, this makes it clearer that which article has cited which reference and how many times. Nowadays, you know, you can easily calculate the impact factor through softwares. But if you should know how is this impact factor calculated in a research, very important point is that you have to go deep down the research. Although the work has been done by technology, but you should know how it is being done. So take, for example, in the year 2007, there was a journal, and the name of the journal is Advances in Physics. They wanted to calculate the impact factor of this journal in 2007. So what is to happen? We will take the calculation of 2 previous years. There are some journals who take 5 years also, but generally 2 years. So now they will see a citation of articles published in Advances in Physics in 2015, 115 times. That means what? Whatever articles are there in this journal in the year 2005, how many people have done the reference? 115. In 2006, how many people have done the citation? 86. So 2005 and 2006, how many people have done the citation? 115 plus 86 makes it 201. How many articles were published in 2005? 12. So you see, my friends, 12 articles were cited 115 times. How many articles were published in 2006? 9. So 9 articles were cited 86 times. So this 12 plus 9 is 21. So how to calculate the impact factor of 2007? How many times citation took place of 2 years? 201. Divided by how many articles in 2 years? 21. The total is 9.571. So 9.571 is the impact factor of the journal named Advances in Physics in the year 2007. In this way, impact factor is calculated. You also do citation analysis. For example, you do citation analysis for an article. A particular article, how many times it has been cited? Article A, 10 times has been cited. Article B, 20 times it has been cited. Not only do you do citation analysis for an institution also. In an institution, there are 50 staff members. 50 staff members have produced 150 articles in the year 2022. 150 articles has been cited how many times? Total number of citation, maybe 350. So 350 becomes citation analysis of that institution for the year 2022. Nowadays, every day, a new concept is coming in about citation. Different ways of calculating citation. They calculate citation article-wise, they calculate citation institute-wise, they calculate citation researcher-wise. A new concepts have come in known as H index and I-10 index. What is this H index? H index is calculated by counting the number of publications for which the author has been cited at least the same number of times. Suppose I have got 17 publications, so my article should be cited at least 17 times. So this is the concept of H index. What is I index? Number of publications which has got 10 citations. These are known as I index. Just see a simple calculation. A researcher is having 12 publications, and these are the citations. 1 is 26, 2 is 12, 3 is 6, 4 is 11 citations. So now I order it. See the second table, I put ranks. So publication, I've put rank 1 to 12, 1 to 12. Citation, I put which one is the highest citation. See, 29 is the highest citation. I've put 29. Which publication was that? Our publication number 6. If you see on the first table. Rank 2. Citation is 26. Which publication was that? 1. So I rank it accordingly. Now, if you see the 8th one, the 8th one has got citation 9. That means higher than the rank is the citation. But when I go to the second one, the rank 9, the rank is higher than the citation. So the last number where the citation is higher than the rank, it is called H index. So in this case, 8 becomes the H index. I think I'm clear. I've got 12 publications and these are the number of citation. According to citation, I put the ranks and then I put the publication as well. Okay, so I will see which rank has got citation more, last rank, which has got citation more than that rank. 8 is more, 9 is more than 8. As soon as I'm coming to rank 9, it is becoming lesser. I will not see the below one. It is becoming lesser. So in this case, 10, it will be 6. 11, there is 9. So I will not see this. So the last number. So 8 becomes the H index. And what about I index? More than 10. See, I index is 7. 7 is the last number where the citation has been done more than 10 times. Below that, all are lesser than 10. So 7 becomes the I index and H index becomes 8. These are all higher level, but generally, by Google Scholar also, by other technologies also, you can calculate. But whenever you are a researcher, it is very important. And when your paper is going for publication, it is very important for you to understand that how the impact factor is calculated. When you really develop yourself as a researcher, you should understand what is this H index and what is this I index. I think I was very, very clear on the scientific misconduct, the stakeholders in research, the ethical issues regarding your research participants, researchers and funding bodies, what is fabrication of data and falsification of data, discuss some activity, discussed in short about different types of plagiarism and the laws. And I just gave you an idea what is impact factor, and the matrices of H index and I-10 index. I wish everyone good luck for your research. It will be very appreciating if you follow the steps because this will give you confidence to choose your publication vehicle. And moreover, your academic success always depends upon your research and publication. If you have good quality research, good quality publications in a proper journal, you are known in the academic field. So I wish everyone all the best, and thank you very much again to the participants and the organizers. Thanks a lot.
If the participants have any query, they can unmute themselves or they can type it in the chat box. You can unmute yourself also, or you can type it in the chat box. Ma'am, there are two questions about, do I have to cite sources for every fact I use? Like, it's a factual information. Do we need to cite those also?
No, actually, I think I'm lost, just a moment. Let me share what happened.
Yes.
Please. I'm lost I cannot see anyone. 1 second.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Now, what happens, when there is a session on citation carried on in this research, in this program, or it is still yet to come?
It's like, it's a fact, like a universal truth or something. So do we have
what
to
I'm saying, this is a very important question, that what needs to be cited and what's need not to be cited. Now, there are some general knowledge. Take, for example, the sun rises in the east. India got independence in 1947. These are some general knowledge. You may not cite the general knowledge at all, which is a universal fact you may not cite. But I, as a researcher, I always believe in one thing. If I am not sure about what to cite and what not to cite, I will cite it. Because if you do not cite, you will land up into plagiarism. But if you cite, which you were not supposed to cite, you will not have any problem. So generally, general knowledge, scientific facts which are proved are not to be cited at all. But if you are in a mess, you do not understand what to do it, please do cite it.
Okay. I mean, one more query, like if say somebody else has written something and even I write something, but I did not know that that person has also written. And if that gets published first and my paper gets published.
Don't worry on that. You don't worry on that. You don't worry on that because two persons never think alike. Maybe you are carrying on with the same research, but your methodology will be different. They have referred to some different respondents and you have referred to some other. Your hypothesis will be different. You cannot have a clone plagiarism like that. That you don't worry. Just keep on researching in a true manner.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Participants, if they can type, if they have certain query, or we proceed to vote of thanks, I would like to call Ms. Sonali to propose a vote of thanks.
Thank you, madam. On behalf of the management, director, madam, and vice principal, IQC coordinator, I extend a really hearty vote of thanks to our resource person, Professor Dr. Maushmi Datta. Madam has talked on ethical and unethical issues, which is very important in research. Madam has talked about what is fabrication, falsification, and plagiarism with the help of case studies. That's why we could understand it very clearly. As per the UGC mandate, every researcher must avoid plagiarism. And Madam has focused on what types of plagiarism and how to prevent plagiarism by citing the source and giving the credits to the actual author and the others. So, Madam, thank you for your thoughts, and this was the enlightening session. And my gratitude to the organizing committee and the management, Director, Madam, Vice Principal, IQC Coordinator for organizing such an insightful workshop, and all the resource person for gracing the workshop and sharing their knowledge. Thank you to all the participants for their active participation. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Sonali. Thank you all. Yes, I can quit. I can leave the meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am, for the wonderful session.
Participants, we will wait for 5 minutes.
We will resume in 5 minutes. The resource person is joining soon. So after, say at 11:10, we resume again.
Good morning, madam. So we'll start with our session 2 for today, which is based on indexing databases. The resource person for this is Dr. Durga Murari. Madam has recently retired as Deputy Librarian at the Bharat Ratna Maharshi Karve Knowledge Resource Center, Pune. She is a senior library and information science professional with more than 30 years of experience in this field. She has done her master's and doctorate in the field of LIS, her specialization being information needs and information seeking skills. She was a Fulbright Fellow at the Department of Library and Information Science at the University of California, Los Angeles. She has participated in many conferences and has various publications to her credit. She was also holding charge as the university librarian for a few years. During this pandemic period, ma'am and her team have conducted a number of online programs for their students to help them with their information needs. She was also an active participant in debating and dramatics in her college years. Ma'am, we welcome you to our research methodology workshop and we look forward to your session. Thank you.
इकडे दिसत नाही बोलतो किती फरक आहे रे बरोबर रे काय थोडंच चला
Ma'am, your screen is visible. Ma'am, we are not able to hear you.
You're on mute. There's some technical issue. We will just resume in 2 minutes. Give us 2 minutes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay, so I'll speak through my mobile phone and you can see my screen from here because there seems to be some issue with the computer.
And one
Okay.
speaker has to be muted because the voice is echoing. So of the two
Thank
devices,
you.
one speaker can be on mute, ma'am.
Okay, so let me put this on mute.
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, right. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'm Durga Murari and I will be speaking on databases here. Is there an echo?
Yes, ma'am. Again, ma'am.
Is there any way to resolve that?
Yes, Sonali is giving you a call, ma'am. Yes.
Okay, right.
Yes, Sonali is calling you, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, can we share the PPT and you can speak, like if you say mail us the PPT, we will we will do the slideshow for the PPT and you can speak then from one device. Participants, sorry for the inconvenience. We will just resume soon.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then let me start. So I'm very sorry that there will be slight. Is there too much of echo?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then. Yeah, I'll share my PPT. I think we'll do that. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Participants will resume soon. There is a technical issue. Just getting it sorted. So we'll resume soon.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Sorry for all this technical problem that we've had. And to start with now, databases and indexing. The first thing is, can we get to the next slide, please? A database is very much an online source of information which has a search engine. So anything can be a database as long as it has various pieces of information, whether it is textual information, non-textual information, and it has a search engine. So the quality of the database, how is the database, depends on what is the quality of information that they have provided there. Okay, are the resources good that we are seeing? Are there knowledgeable, useful resources? And also, how good is the search engine? Okay, so when you put in any term, okay, if you're putting in dolphins or you're putting in earthquakes, does the search engine of the database search through the whole text? Does it search only the title? Is it how quick and how fast is it able to search and retrieve? That is what is very important in any database. Some of the common types of databases that we see here are the library catalogs, article indexes, online collections. All of these, even your library catalog, is a type of database which is telling you what all is there. And if you have an online resource, it will also have a search engine because it will search through and tell you what is there when you put in just one term. Could we have the next slide? Next slide, please. Okay. Now, online databases can be specialized content types or it can be non-text materials because there are music databases, there are databases of art materials, paintings, there are of chemical compounds and their formulae. So there can be the type of textual material, which is what most of us look at in databases when we are doing our research, or it can be non-text material. There can be citation indexes where it depends on who has cited which article. Based on that, there are databases. And there are electronic discovery systems which attempt to put in a number of databases into a single search engine. Again, like I said, it is the effective retrieval or how good is the search engine that makes a database very good or very bad. Now, while saying this, I just want to add here that all of us in whichever institute we are working, please note that many of the databases that are purchased by the institutes are selective. The database licenses are selective there. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay. So what happens when you go to search on the net? Okay. Search and retrieval is usually not satisfactory. If you're not very aware about searching techniques and how to search, you may find that you are getting too many irrelevant documents. Okay. Our expectation when we put on Google or any databases that whatever I am looking for, immediately I'll find, 10 relevant articles and I'll be able to start my research work immediately. And what is the experience that when we put in, either we are not finding any information or we are finding too many documents, half of which or three-fourths of which may be of no use to us at all. Next slide. Okay. So one of the things that you must do before starting your work is to have a search strategy. Okay. So analyze your problem statement. Whenever we have students, they come and directly give us the topic of their PhD. So we have to sit them down and ask, okay, this is your thing. What are the other terms that we can look at? What exactly do you want in your information? So analyze your problem statement, write it down, write down all the keywords that you can think of. First of all, find out what type of information do you want. Do you want statistical information? Do you want for your literature research? Do you want research articles? Are you looking at newspapers? Okay, there was one of the students was working on ads. So we had to go through looking for different types of ads and advertisements having those words. So newspaper articles and magazines were what we needed to see. So similarly, after you analyze your problem statement, please decide what type of information and what document. Okay, very specifically, what do you want? Then identify the keywords of your research. Okay, write down all the you can use a thesaurus. I've given one site here. Okay, which will give you different terms. Sometimes you find that the term that you are looking at, okay, when you put it into your database, bring it into Google, wherever you're using it, very few articles are coming or you're not finding anything, in which case go to a thesaurus and see what are the other words that you can use. Okay, paryayvachi shabd for that particular term that you want. This will widen your search and help you find more relevant things that you want. Next is please prepare your search statement. Okay, I'll show you some search operators. You can always use the advanced search techniques that are there. but you need to use search operators, punctuations, and then actually go and search. See what are the documents that you are retrieving. Okay. Are they useful documents, or are they such documents where you need to retrieve something different because you're finding that what has come out is of no use to you? If that is so, then modify your search strategy with the help of the results and start searching again. If you still have any difficulty, please go and ask the library staff to help you with these searches. They will be able to, and they will be, I'm sure, very happy to do so. Next, please. Okay. Now, when we are talking about question, like I said, design and define what information you need. Okay. Do you want statistical newspaper articles? Do you want research information? Do you want general articles? So define what you want and then decide based on this which are the sources that you want to use. Okay. And once you have decided the databases that you're very specific or the journals that you want to use, find out how they function. Okay. I'll show you a basic thing on databases. Every database that your institution may be subscribing to will have a different way, slight differences in the way that they function. Many of them give a tutorial in the beginning. So you can see those tutorials, the video will be there on how to use this particular database. You have to understand the basic structure of this database. Now I've given two symbols here, use plus or use inverted commas. Plus is instead of and, you can use plus or you can use the word and itself. For example, if you're looking at earthquakes and India, earthquakes and Maharashtra, so that the database will search for articles only when both of these words are coming together. Now, if you put the same thing within inverted commas, for example, you say earthquakes in India, then the search engine will search for those articles wherever search earthquakes in India comes to as a phrase itself. Otherwise, what happens? It will look for India also, it will look for earthquakes also, it will look for both of them separately, which means that the number of articles you are getting is much more and maybe irrelevant. If you want a specific phrase, be sure to put it within inverted commas. Next slide, please. Okay, these are some of the sites I have shown. Okay, I don't know if whoever is using it, can you hyperlink this, please? Open the hyperlink. These mind maps are again, it's a free online system, and what it does is show you different concepts, So what happens is that besides the research specific thing that you are looking at, you can look at a number of other things also. For example, if it says talk, along with talk, what are the words that can be used for talk? What are the other concepts? Okay. If you're doing something in business, something in social sciences, what are the other things that you can look up? Okay. So this is a very good technique. So you can see your terminology also increases. The different types of terms that you use can also increase. Next slide, please. Okay. The same thing, mind map or a thesaurus. Here is a visual thesaurus you can see over here. So you can see talk, it can have speech, lecture, public lecture, utter, mouth, verbalize. All of these are the terms that you can look at when you are doing this. So similarly, whatever is your term, put it there and it shows you what are the other terms that you can use. Okay, these are things which you will need to do at the beginning of your research itself. Next, please. Now, some of the operators that you need to use for your search strategies are very simple Boolean operators. Now, this is basically 6th or 7th standard algebra where we learn and, or not. Okay, so these are the main Boolean operators that any search engine operates by and by which you can use for your search strategies. Okay, so and means wherever the terms are common. If you say or, it will search through everything. Like the first one, when I said earthquakes in India, it will be the small space. If you say earthquakes, India, then the whole thing, it means or, so everything will be searched, whether the word India is there or whether the word earthquake is there. And then the last one, if you say earthquakes, not India, so it will give you all other earthquakes happening in the world wherever there is an article about it, except where it is, I mean, wherever it is not pertaining to India only. Next, please. Now, what happens when you use these operators? For example, the first one that we saw, use and, which means it will minimize the results. Okay, you can just try this out. If you look at Google, when you start and you put earthquakes India, something like crores of articles come in. Okay, the moment you put earthquakes and India, automatically you will find that that is coming down. Okay, and similarly, as you go on adding more terms, you can keep on bringing it down till it comes down to a number where you can actually look at the articles, because there's no point in looking for crores of articles or even lakhs or even thousands of articles, because it's physically impossible for us to actually go through that. Now, in some cases, you may find that you're not getting enough results. You're only finding, it throws up saying that there are 0 articles for this, or there are only 2 articles. In which case, when you want more results, use the word or. Okay, so that you get a larger variety of the number of articles there. For example, pre-primary education or kindergarten, because both of them mean the same thing. Depends on what terminology different authors have used. Similarly, mental health or mental hygiene. So when you use different types of words here, what happens is that your base gets broadened and you find more articles there. Okay. Again, for limiting the number of articles, you can use not. Okay. Or it can be a minus sign for limiting the results. For example, if you're putting pollution minus air, all the results that you will get will be noise pollution, water pollution, but you will not get air pollution within those articles. Next slide, please. Okay, the same thing, certain examples are here. Like I said, if you put pollution control within inverted commas, the search engine will search for articles wherever these two words occur together. Okay, so pollution control, and you want Ganga or the Ganges because both means, minus NGOs. So you don't want work done by NGOs, you want only work. So this is one way of creating a good type of search strategy for yourself. Okay, RBI or the Reserve Bank of India, primary education and India minus rural areas. So you're looking at only urban areas and their primary education. Next, please. Okay. So when you use these punctuation marks and symbols, what happens is that the results that you get back in your search strategies becomes much better. Okay. You can do a comparison of the results with and without the punctuation marks, which will help you how different it is or how it goes. Next, please. Okay. Another thing, symbol that you can use is an asterisk remark. When you use asterisks, okay, number 8 and shift, this will help you extend your scope. For example, if you put teach and you put the asterisk, it will retrieve all sorts of words where the first 5 letters are teach and then it comes after that. Teacher, teachers, teaching, all of these will get retrieved. You can also use it because what happens is when we are looking at different databases, some have got a British spelling and some have got the American spelling. So if you see LOUR, which will be the British spelling, and LABOR, which will be the American spelling. Now, when we are looking for articles, we need to have both these types. Similarly, for behavior, color, wherever you're using, you can put an asterisk so that you can get both the spelling are being retrieved. Okay. And you can also put this asterisk between words, like India asterisk education means it could be India primary education, higher education, middle school education, anything, any word can come in between these two words and it will retrieve all of these. Now I've given here certain other types of this thing that you can use punctuation marks. You can use an asterisk, you can use the dollar sign, you can use 3 dots for a range. Okay, question mark for replacing a single character. Like if you put nurse and a single question mark, only nurses will come, but not the others. Okay, these are just some small things which we used to use previously, but now when you use the advanced search facility, you can just use that directly too. But I'm just giving you a background to this one. Next, please. Okay. For all of you who are doing any type of literature search, this is a site which explains what is your literature search, how you have to do it, how you can search, refining your search, getting your search strategies. They have a small tutorial on each one. So I've just put this up. You can go through this site and look at how it is. Next, please. Okay. Now we come to the one place where all of us need to go, Google Acharya. And I'm using Google here, but many of you, when you're using it, besides Google, all of us would be using specific academic databases that you would be going to. Next, please. Yes. Okay. So if you see in Google, one of the reasons why it is such a popular search engine and database, it has so many databases within it, and it is a search engine, is because the rest of the page does not distract, unlike some of the other search engines. So using this here, the number of search strategies, we can just try out one. Can you go into the hyperlink, please? Okay. Anybody has any term that you would like to search specifically?
IPR, intellectual property right.
IPR. Okay, now what would you like within IPR? Just do a search. You can just put Google search within this. Okay, so you can see the number of types. You can see how many results have come back to you. Is there any way that you would like to modify this and bring it down? IPR and India?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Automatically, look, we have reduced the number of articles by not too many, but by quite a substantial amount. Can you think of anything else that we can put into?
Case study.
Sorry, I didn't get you.
Case study of India. IPR, case study of Indian companies.
Okay, case study of actually you need to do IPR and Indian companies. Again, the number already has come down. If you put Indian companies here, it will come down further. Okay, and now you put case studies again and case studies here. I think some more it will get reduced further. Okay, so we are still down, but it's still a huge number. So you will need to even think of even more terms in which we can bring this down. Okay, what you can do is go into Google Advanced. Yeah? So we go to the next slide. I think I've put Google Advanced, or just put Google Advanced here itself and we'll be able to go through that. Just put Google Advanced so that we can. That's it. Just say Google search. And now put it here. What all do you want? IPR. No, up also, no. Case studies will have to come together. So this exact phase, so over there, please add case study, because you don't want case separate and this separate. And on top, besides IPR, put India, space India, space companies. Okay. Now we go down to language. You can narrow it down to English and Marathi, Hindi, or any Indian language only. Let's stick to English at this moment. Okay. Region, again, you can bring it down to India here. Okay. And if you want now, update what is the period that you are looking at, any time or last 1 year. So up to a year ago. Okay. Now let's go into advanced search. Okay. It's not giving, but it's giving the number here, but actually it should have given all results. How many articles have come up? Okay, but this would have brought down the number of articles that you're looking for. So when you're doing this search study, what happens is that all said and done, you will have to keep on doing a little bit of searching again and through till you find what is suiting you best, what is coming best for you. Okay. Is there anything else anybody wants to search, or you can try it later? You can get here. Next slide, please. Next again. Yes. Also, Google Scholar, which I will be talking about later when we get into the citations portion. Most of you, I think, would have seen Google Scholar and check out your own name and how many times you have been cited with your contemporaries, and any article that you are. See whether it has been cited by others, which means that both the researcher and the article that you are looking for are very useful. Next one. Now the Shodh Ganga site, I'm sure all of you would have seen. Almost all the theses of all Indian universities are now, it's mandatory to put our thesis on the Shodh Ganga website. Have all of you seen this site?
Yes, madam.
And have you been able to use it successfully?
I'm using for my research paper.
Okay. One of the things that I wanted to tell all of you is, because most people don't do this, is when you're going and looking at thesis, please go to the back portion of it where their bibliography is given. Okay. What happens is sometimes you don't find articles what you are looking for, especially in certain subjects. It does happen like that. So if you're able to find a thesis, go to their bibliography and look at what all they have looked at. These references under every chapter, the bibliography that they have given, may help you start your search points in a much better fashion also. So if you're unable to find anything and you find a thesis, look at all the references and the bibliography that they have given. This will take you to various sites, and you will be able to look at the literature. For your literature research and literature searching, this becomes a very useful source. Okay. Next, please. These are certain paid databases. Have any of you used Proquest? Because many universities are now getting to Proquest.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So both science and social sciences. And you can use the full text option so that you are able to get the articles that you are specifically looking for. Next, please. This is again access content on Proquest. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't have the new user name and password yet, so I'm not able to use it here. Can we get to the next one, please? Okay. Now, this is what I'm talking about when I was saying that you have to decide whether you're looking for articles or you're looking for numbers. Okay. IndiaStat is a very comprehensive database, especially if you're doing in the social sciences, economics, and you want statistical data, because this has got authentic Indian government data is coming into this. Have any of you used this?
Yes.
Okay, right. Thank you. Next, please. These are some of the open access journals for those besides whatever databases you are subscribing to. Or if you find that you are handicapped by not able to getting access to the paid databases, then you can open access journals, go through these, and at least your starting point of your search does start. Okay, so there is the open access journals, and there are now a number of open access journals in almost every subject. Can we get to the next one, please? Can you just click on the hyperlink here? Okay. So this is the directory and this one, and this many journals are put here. What you can do is put your article and search. Can anybody give any topic here? You can just see.
India's demography.
Okay, demography. Now it says almost 0. Not specifically in English. Okay. So this is not really helping us with anything that has to do with India. So you have to choose another journal, another open access, where there will be more on India itself, if you are looking at that. Okay. Any else? Can you just go down and see what are the journals that came up on this? Okay. Now, many of these I can see are not exactly Indian journals. So there are no journals, Indian journals in this topic here. Okay. So choose another database if that is what you're finding. Okay. Next, please. Next. Okay. Elsevier, Ebsco, Elsevier was prefers this. This has certain journals which are open access. Okay, Elsevier is a very good publisher. Again, like I said, not all journals will be open access, some will be. And Elsevier is very well known for science subjects. So you may find some of the articles here. Next, please. Okay. Ebsco is a service which your institutions may be getting. Again, an extremely good database system. So you have Psych articles, Sinhal, Sinhal is for nursing, psych articles naturally for psychology. So there are a number of databases here that you can use up here. Next. This is a site which some of you may have used, the pdfdrive.com. This was very useful during the COVID pandemic. Are available almost. Previous slide, please. Okay. So I've just put here geography as one topic. You can put up whichever is your subject and see what are the books there. Now, though it says you can freely download everything, it doesn't happen that way. Please don't blindly do, because there are a certain number of pages only that you can do. So see which pages you need, but you can freely download that many pages from different books that you want. Next, please. Okay. Again, the National Digital Library, which is from the, it's a digital library of India by the IIT. Kharagpur has made this in actually with other institutes. Are any of you registered here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you can register personally or you can register through your library also. So they have all sorts of materials that they are giving here. And these are available, again, free of cost totally for you to see. Next, please. Okay. Sakshat is another of the Human Resources Ministry. You can see all the types of things that they have. They have engineering contact, they have talk to a teacher, tutorials, certain amount of e-content and lectures that are available here, which you can see in your subjects. Next, please. Next. This is a career guidance, this thing, which gives you jobs. After all, one has finished, so one might be looking for different types of posts. So whatever is available is given up on this site. Next, please. And information about conferences. What are the different conferences going on? And within that, are there scholarships available? What is happening? It gives you this. Next, please. Okay. These are another site here if you're looking for grants or scholarships for your organization. Next, please. And like I gave you in the beginning, this is another university guide which tells you how to evaluate your sources. Okay. Whenever you're looking at any of the journal articles in any of these databases, it is very important to know whether the article is authentic, who wrote it, who has published it, okay, when it was written, what was the audience. Based on that, the authenticity of the journal and the article is very important. So you need to know whatever you are using, how to evaluate those particular sources. Next, please. Okay, this is just a listing of the sites. I'll send it to Sonali ma'am. You can also. Next, please. Now, all this that we have done and gone through all this, for why do we go through all these databases? Okay, it is for us to study before we do our research. These databases and these journals are also the medium through which we will share our results. We need to know what others have written in their research, and we need to validate the research already done. That also has to go through this medium only. Next, please. Okay. If you look at academic journals and the way we have published, the academic journal world started somewhere in the 1600s. In fact, the first journal came out in 1360, and then from the 1600s, a number of journals have gone on being added here. Next, please. Okay, you can see the scholarly publishing timeline. The oldest learned society was founded in 1323, and the Royal Society of London was founded in 1660. And both the Journal Descavans and Philosophical Transactions of the Royal Society of London were first published in 1665. And many of these journals continue till today itself. Next, please. Now, if you look at the journal literature and how it is growing, in 1900, we had 10,000 journals listed as being published. Today, the Ulrich Periodical Directory says there are more than 3 lakh journals that are being published. Now, this 3 lakh are those who have registered and given their names to this periodicals directory. There may be another 3 lakh perhaps, which are smaller journals in different languages who have not registered with the Ulrich Periodicals Directory also. Next, please. So this sort of growing number of journals has created for us an information overload and in fact an information obesity itself. If you ask people who did their PhDs and research in the early years before this electronic databases came about, they would be searching perhaps a much smaller portion in their literature search because they had to physically go to places, look at indexes, look at perhaps journals, each one separately, as compared to the way we do it now. We're just sitting at home and we have access to so much information everywhere. Now, it is very difficult for scholars to keep up with the current and retrospective journals because it is difficult for us to access all the journals and go through them also. Next, please. Here is where indexing journals and databases offer a solution to the problems faced. Next, please. Okay. So what do these databases and indexing databases do? They give you about new discoveries keep coming up. There's an inclusion of table of contents and indexes of first individual volumes and list of articles published in many journals. Because when you go into the database, you do not have to go through each separate journal by itself. What you do is to go into a database, put a term, and if you have an electronic data service, it is searching not only the number of databases, but each one of these databases has a number of journals. So the list of articles published in many journals comes to you at your fingertips. Now, why is it necessary to know? Is to establish priority. Because I think somebody had asked a question previously. If 2 people are working at the same time, okay, who gets priority? Now, in the social sciences, it is not so difficult because, like Dr. Datta said, there are different, whatever hypothesis is different, your research group is different, your audience is different. And in social sciences, depending on geographical area, your results will be very different. Whereas if it is a science article, then establishing priority becomes very important. And here is where your publication and when it comes out first is very important. Next, please. Okay. So some of the systematic things that we have to help us in our search are abstracting journals, indexing journals, and review journals. Okay. Abstract, all of you know what it is. And all of these journals are part of various databases. Okay. So in a database, you may find only abstracts, you may find full text. So like if you have used Proquest or anything, it asks you, what do you want to search? Any journal or only those which are accompanied by a full text? Next, please. Okay, these are just some examples of different types of abstracting services indexes. And if you see, trying to put together different journal articles and index them started from the 1800s itself, which means that even at that time, people needed to know what was the literature available. So somebody actually sat and indexed them or created these sort of perhaps paper-based databases, we can call them, but these were there. And in fact, this H.W. Wilson's Guide to Periodical Literature, if you see, it was published from 1900. And even up to the 1980s, it was a very, very useful tool. We used to wait for the annual issue to arrive in the libraries so that we could show it to our staff and they could go and see what had happened in their field during that particular year, what had been published. Next, please. These are some of the indexing techniques which I've just put here, just for references. Next, please. Now, there have been a number of databases. In fact, when in the 80s, when we used to search, or early 90s, when we were searching, we used to go to each database separately and search. There was a food line database, there was a chemical database, there was a history database. Each one had to be searched separately. Again, what happens is when you're in an interdisciplinary subject, and now we find that any research that we do, the type of material that we need is very interdisciplinary, because every article seems to be looking at a number of fields. So vendors and aggregators, those who are putting together the databases, they came into play and they started bringing out different types of aggregated this thing like Ebsco, JSTOR. What they have done is they have put together a number of databases. The database was putting together a number of journals, and now the journal databases are being put together by these services. So Web of Science, Scopus, Ebsco, all of them put together a number of databases. Next. Okay. If you see, there are directories and there are abstracting indexing databases. Directories are basically for control over the growing literature. Like Ulrich Periodical Directory, I said, it just tries to include all the titles that are coming and what is being published in the world. Whereas abstracting indexing services select journals based on certain criteria, the best journals in that field, and they put together this service so that you can find the literature search, which is in after you evaluate the articles, you find that these are useful articles, they're authentic articles, and only those journals have been selected. Next, please. Now, the journal selection for these databases is both the aim and scope, title, bibliographic information, whether the publisher is well known, does he have an ISSN number, is he registered, and what is the publication history and frequency. Sometimes you find that there are journals which come off and on, and there is no specific frequency. So as far as possible, when you're publishing or when you're looking for articles, try to avoid these sort of journals which do not have a reputable history. Next. What are the criteria for these databases? That the publication should be timely. Okay, it should be published within a specific period. There are certain journals where last year's issue is coming out today. That is not of any use to us, because research results have to come out when they are most relevant for further researchers to do. The quality of the content, is it good? Is it insightful? Is it useful? Does the journal which is selected by the database, does it have a peer review system? It should have a peer review system because only then it can be valid and authentic. Next, please. It should also have an ethical and peer review policy, which is given. Okay, ethics is now a very important thing, especially when you're using human subjects for testing anywhere. They will also look at the academic credentials of the board members and what is the copyright and licensing information. Okay, once it comes in the database, what is the copyright? Is it for payment? Is it free? Is it an open database? All these things will come into play. Next, please. Okay, these are some of the very popular abstracting indexing databases. Can you please put on the first hyperlink, Web of Science? We can just go there. So when you're in Web of Science, your page will look like this. Sorry, since I'm not having the access here. What you will need to do is find out if your organization has got a Web of Science account with them. Once you go into this, you can see, because now if you're looking at the UGC care list, anything that is indexed by the Web of Science of Scopus, all those journals generally come into the UGC care list. You can also find out what is the citation factor, the H index, all of these will come through when you look at the Web of Science. Next slide, please. Okay, so Web of Science is an online-based citation indexing, which gives access to multiple databases. There is the science citation, social science, humanities. It has 6 core databases, specialist collections, regional databases, and it has almost 160 million records within this. Next, please. Okay, so you can see again the same thing here. Next, please. Scopus is again a very large abstract and citation database. This has peer-reviewed scientific journals here. Okay, so it has science, technology, and the medical discipline. And for science journals, this is one of the best databases to use. Next, please. PubMedical is a free full-text digital archive, and this has a number of full-text articles in medicine and nursing. Next, please. Medline and PubMed work together, and the articles that you see are more than in biomedicine and health. It also has chemical sciences and bioengineering wherever it is related to health care and medicine together. Next. Okay, DOAJ we saw early. This is one of the few things that has open access journals here. Okay, it contains almost 14,000 journals. You can search for it, but again, you may not find all that is useful to you as you would find in a paid database. Next, please. Elsevier has an engineering compendex, which gives you publications in the field of engineering literature. Okay. Next. And like we saw in the beginning, Google Scholar is a freely accessible web search. All of these give you the citation index of the scholars. Okay, so that is now becoming very important, how often an article has been cited. And the more an article has been cited, if the scholar has a very good citation index, that means that the work done is very important. Okay, sometimes you may find between two scholars, one person has many articles, but their citation index is much lower. Whereas somebody may have written only a few articles, but with a much higher citation rate. So always prefer the second person, because the higher a citation, an article is cited, it means that more people are using it, which means that it is a very important article in your field of work. Next, please. Okay. Now, the benefits of these indexing databases is, of course, to identify authentic, appropriate literature. You come to know who are the relevant authors. To receive recognition for yourself, you need to publish in journals which will index, which will be indexed by these databases. You also get primary information which are not there in books or encyclopedias. Because this is literature which has just happened, it is very, very recent, and it will take time to go into a book or encyclopedia. If you're going to do any scientometric studies based on citations, these are very useful. Ranking of universities, ranking of authors, everything is used by this. To provide services to your library users, these are very easy to search. And almost all of the databases will give you a list of journals that are indexed here. So you can check where you want to publish based on the database. If you have to check Web of Science or Scopus, you see that list of journals and you see where you should be publishing. Because publishing in a good journal, in a very good peer-reviewed journal, will give you much more than publishing in some local journal, which may not give you that sort of recognition. Next, please. Okay. Here a word of caution. There are also false indexing databases where the journal indexing may be done on payment basis. You may find that you are getting ads, people send you emails saying that please send us articles, or this thing has a very high factor, H index and everything is very high for our journal, and it is being indexed in so many databases. Okay, please be very careful here. Okay, false citation counts are there. There can be fabricated impact factors. There can be predatory journals where you have to pay very high to get your journals, to get your article published. Predatory journals, I'm sure all of you know now, because UJC and NAC are both insisting that you do not use predatory journals. They are journals where you have to pay, make a payment, and your article is published. In fact, there are journals where if you pay the money today, your article will be published tomorrow itself. So if you have an interview day after tomorrow, you can get it published today and show it there. Okay? But these are not good practices. These are not ethical practices. So please do not do so. Okay. Let me get to the next one. So I should stop here. I'm already overshooting my time. Okay. Are there any questions? I will send all the list here to Bhatkar Madam so that you can see these sites and use up these things.
Participants can unmute themselves, or they can even type their queries in the chat box. And also we have given the option to unmute yourself. You can unmute also if you want to. The questions are welcome. I think so in between also many participants have asked their queries. Ma'am, is it necessary that every time we index a database, or sometimes there can be a condition where indexing can be avoided?
Where indexing can?
Indexing can be avoided, or is it mandatory every time we should index a database?
You don't index a database. The database is indexed. It has a search engine, so the indexes are created within the database. So you don't have to do anything with it. You only search for whatever you're searching.
Any other query? Participants can also unmute themselves if they want to. We have given them the right to unmute and ask the question. And also, if you're not comfortable, you can type it in the chat box. I think so. They're very clear with it, ma'am. They don't have any doubt of
Very clear. Nobody, everybody needs to use it before this thing. Thank you so much.
So searching, doing the work more, maybe then they can get the query.
Yes. And if anybody has any queries about their search strategies, my email is with Vatkar madam. Please free to write to me and I can help you with the search strategies at any time.
And we will share it in the participant group. Say maybe after working, they get a query, they can contact you then.
Sure,
I would now
anytime.
call Ms. Sonali Vatkar to propose a vote of thanks.
Thank you, madam. On behalf of the management, director, madam, vice principal, in charge principal, Professor Dr. Moshmi Datta, I would like to extend a hearty vote of thanks to our resource person, Dr. Durga Murari, madam. Madam has explained about search strategies, advanced search strategies, Boolean operators, and she has shown us various websites and indexed and abstracting databases. And she has guided us to go for the databases where we will get the open access journals. Thank you, madam. My gratitude to the organizing committee and the management director, madam, in charge principal, vice principal, and IQAC coordinator to for organizing such a nice workshop. And thank you to the participants for their patience of listening and participation. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Yes, we will post the link in the chat box. Tomorrow is the day 12th of the workshop. That will be the last day for the workshop. So I would request all the participants to join us for the last day.
It is mandatory to fill the feedback form which will be posted tomorrow, because for the grant of certificate, it is mandatory that you fill the feedback form, which will be posted tomorrow at the end of the valedictory session. Today's attendance link is posted in the chat box.